It is such an honor and a pleasure to be here today. As already introduced by our lovely MC, my name is Relebogile Mabotja, and I'm here to talk about how a TV show goes online. Now, I need to start with the story of how what you just saw on your screens, Unpacked with Relebogile Mabotja, came about. I was working as a newsreader and a radio presenter at Metro FM, and it wasn't long from where I had come from talk radio, and I was craving long interviews. So every time I'd interview somebody on radio, it was like 7 minutes, and it's very short to talk for 7 minutes about deep issues. And I said to myself, yo guys, let's talk. So when I made the decision to leave Metro, I said, well, we've all been forced into lockdown. Maybe this is an opportunity to work on something. And my manager, you know, I owe a big part of my career to her, Sheila, said to me, this is the time. And there's this thing that happens sometimes as a creative. You won't start something until you have something, right? So you'll say, I'll do this thing when I have money too. I'll record the project when I have money too. But at this point, I said to her, you know what, actually you're right. This is the time. People are locked up at home. A lot of crews are not working. So let me do a podcast. But actually, I'm a visual person, and I've been in television for about 18 years. Why not record it visually as well? But I didn't have money. I was like, I don't have money. So I picked up the phone, and I thought to myself, if I'm going to do a show, what would it be about? What did I enjoy watching? And I remember watching Oprah Winfrey episodes back in the day where she took the microphone and she put it in the audience and she started talking to people to find out about their own personal stories. And I thought, okay, I'd love to just talk to people. I've interviewed celebrities. I've interviewed politicians. I want to talk to people and get their stories. So I pick up the phone and I start calling content producers I've worked with, cameramen, soundmen. I said, listen, I don't have money, but there's this thing I want to do. This is my vision. Are you on board? They're like, what is the vision? I said, okay, come to my house, I'll feed you. Nick, I'll feed you. And we can, so I bribed them with food. Came to my house and I said, I remember one of the first things I said was, you know that KFC couple got out there, but I would want to know where they are now. I would want to know what their marriage is like. That's the show I want to see. Those stories we read about in the news where you hear, hey, mang, this happened, but you don't know what happened next. That's the show I want to do. And the guy said, Shab, don't worry, we've got you. We'll bring our own gear. We're coming. And then I was like, yo, but I don't have a set. I have nothing in my house. I called an art director and I said the same thing. I don't have money, but I'll feed you. I'll feed you, ne? Can you come to my house and just make it look nice? Where can you put the things together? They came to my house because everybody's productions were on hold, so we had time. They're like, let's paint this wall. Let's take a sofa. They went into my bedroom. They took this. I called a graphic designer and I was like, design a logo, make it simple. And this is how the show came about. The plan was always to go online. The plan was we're going to go online because those of you that have worked in television, you'll know you submit a proposal, you can wait 3 to 5 years if you even get a reply. And people would think, how Relebogile Mabotja, everybody knows you. You should be able to pick up a phone and get a show on TV. It doesn't work like that. So I said, no, we're going to go on YouTube and then we'll find a sponsor because the show's going to do great. And this was my prayer. I kept saying the show's going to do great. Sharp. We decide we're going to go ahead and we shoot. The first few episodes happen in my lounge. And the way we were shooting, and this is critical to the difference between television broadcast and digital. We didn't shoot to a clock. We didn't shoot to a script. We literally said we're going to sit and have a conversation. And that's what we did. Our very first guest is a woman that I had met before. She's a black woman who was raised by an Afrikaans family that identifies as a white person. And I thought, I'm not going to come into this being like, Mara, why? You are black. I'm going to come into this and be like, Clank, what's your story? How did you get here? And that is literally how the show started. Is walk into a conversation like I know nothing. Like I know nothing. Like I don't even have my own experiences to relate to this person with. I got to come in neutral and curious. And I also got to come in asking the questions that I think the audience wants to know. So if you say you think you're white, does it mean you date a black man? So this is the conversation we had. After the first episode, the crew said to me, hi, the show looks amazing. We think it can go to TV. I was like, nah, guys, really? It can go to TV, they say. Okay, let's finish shooting. We shoot till we had 13 episodes. We did that over 3 days. After that, the team says to me, listen, before you put it on YouTube, let's see if a broadcaster will take it. The quality is good and the country needs to hear these stories because not everybody has data, not everybody has access to digital platforms. So I said, Shab, picked up a call to somebody, a producer friend, and I said, tell me what you think of this. I want your honest opinion. And they said, this is brilliant. And she said, can I sell it for you? I said, cool, but I'm giving you a deadline to sell it because our plan was to go to YouTube. We're going to sit around on content. Couple of months in, SABC was like, yeah, maybe. They were not really coming to the table. The other broadcasters didn't even respond to us. We didn't even get a rejection, just we were blue-ticked. And then I was like, actually, why are we waiting for broadcasters? The plan was to go to YouTube. I get it. We already knew we don't have money. We already budgeted to not make money. So let's just go. The day we post, and I say, we're picking a date, we're cutting a promo, we're going to YouTube. And the other smart thing my manager advised, she said to me, don't create a new YouTube channel for your show. Leverage off of your name. So don't make an Unpacked TV show YouTube channel. Use your name so that people can find it easily. I said, great. The day we announced to say, guys, we have a new show. It's coming this date, X date, and we're going to YouTube. Did we not get a phone call from SABC saying, how, guys? How? We said we like it. We said we like it. We were like, Kanti. And what was the formula that got the broadcaster to come? We had nothing to lose. Literally had nothing to lose. We're not depending on their money. We already knew all of us are donating our time and our skills. All I had to do is make sure people had transport to come to work and people, we had batteries and consumables and people were fed. So there we are, broadcaster now comes to the table. But I'm like, but actually I still want this thing to go to YouTube. So just because we're giving it to you doesn't mean we're not going to go online. And the negotiation came about to say the content still belongs to Relebogile. We will give you a 24-minute version, but online you guys are going to see the raw, unfiltered, uncut conversation. They were like, great, as long as we can have it first, no problem. So what did we do? And mind you, we were learning as we go along. Because my expertise is television and not digital. So the first day, what happens is that you realize for the first episode, cutting 24 minutes out of a conversation that was over an hour was our first battle. So episode 1 had about 10 different versions. Because everything said is important, but you have to now be strategic. The second thing is you have a broadcaster that gave us a 5 p.m. slot. We thought our talk show is an evening talk show that happens once a week. No, it's daily, it's at 5 p.m. What happens in your homes at 5 p.m.? You're sitting with your children, right? By the TV. Yet I'm busy interviewing OnlyFans people that are talking about penetration and anal. And they're being graphic. I'm interviewing a transgender woman who's telling me how they're able to have sex with a man without him knowing he is trans. So now we're like, 5 p.m. slot and there's children. So now you have to edit a version that is specific for national broadcaster mandate. That wasn't too difficult because I was not an online person creating for television. I'm a television person who understands how to edit. We get our edit, but now we're like, ow, this is the nice thing about online. No one is saying you're limited with time. The next thing is when you're delivering to a broadcaster, you're subject to audio visual standards. You need to go to final mix. Your graphics have to be a certain way. Your grading has to be a certain way. Your color correction. And I thought, you know what's great? Us going to broadcaster is forcing us to have the highest production value of online content creators. So we're not just any YouTube channel in the sense that I've got my iPhone and I'm shooting a conversation, which I could have done. It still would have been great because the content is what makes the show work. But the content now was attractive and beautiful. We have a post-production team that is grading an episode, that is taking the time to slow down the edits in moments that make sense, taking reaction shots, that is putting together your scoring so that the music can undertone your story. And that's now going online. And I was like, I think we might have just changed the game here. Because if we were just going to YouTube, we wouldn't have paid for final mix because it's expensive. We wouldn't have graded. We wouldn't have done all these post-production things. We would have just said, cut hamo, put the thing together. People don't care if there's sound issues. There's sound issues all over YouTube. But now we were being forced to do it. So I said, let's do it for the whole show. So what happens, a couple of episodes in, we had to choose what is our first episode, and I felt strongly that a clip saying I am a white person from a black woman is what's going to get us out there. And my gut was correct. The following day that we went on air, that clip was being shared everywhere. On TikTok, everywhere, and everyone now was like, where is this from? I need to watch this. And what was fortunate is no one had to say, Emela repeat ya 2 p.m. go SABC 3. No, there was a YouTube link available to go and watch it. And then what happened? The radio stations were talking about it. They were having conversations. Power FM 702, they were like, oh my goodness, there's a black woman who thinks she's white. Is there such a thing as being transracial? And what did that do? That becoming viral is it got people to tune into the show. I have this young, awesome social media guru kid that works for the show. And he said to me when we started, we got our social media accounts, and he said, I'm going to get us a TikTok. I was like, TikTok for what? Are people not dancing on TikTok? I was very confused because I was quite behind. He said, no, man, we'll just take clips from the show and put it on TikTok. Our TikTok account now has almost 100,000 followers. More than any of our other social platforms. I didn't think TikTok would blow up. But because he was smart enough to take certain clips to put out that made people now want to be like, how? So now you get a clip of a guy that is saying, oh, well, I do sleep with clients for money and I sleep with men or women. Or you get a man that's saying, I defecated into my client's mouth. Just that short clip makes you want to do what? You want to hear the rest of the story, I get it. But while that's happening, there's a TV show that is promoting an online show and an online show that is promoting a TV show. So somehow, and I don't want to say I was this awesomely strategic person that studied algorithms and went and observed what everybody was doing on YouTube. I did observe what people were doing on YouTube. I saw MacG's having conversations. I saw this person having conversations. But I said, what are we going to do that's different? We're going to make brilliant broadcast quality content. But even better than that, our storytelling is what is going to grip the audience. But let's have a nice set. Let's make sure I look decent. I mustn't be in my pajamas, though it would be nice to be in my pajamas while doing the show. Let's make a show. And that's how a TV show slowly went to online. Our first episode broadcast on the 11th of May of this year. That was just under a year from everybody gathering in my lounge at my house to shoot the first episode. And the reason I'm sharing that is to demonstrate how important patience is. Because there came a point where everybody was releasing lockdown shows. I get IG, anybody that was anybody was doing interviews. And now we had a broadcaster said, yeah, we're interested. But I was ready to go, and I was so scared that it's going to look like we copied somebody. But something said, wait. Wait for online, wait for television. The timing will be right, and the timing was perfect. After our first 13 episodes aired, they immediately, actually, let me rephrase. Before our first 13 episodes aired, they asked if they could renew for a second season. It hadn't even started. Wow. They renewed for a second season. We had our second season, which was in our 60 episodes. We're currently in our third season, which is 130 episodes. Now, the YouTube creators that are watching might be thinking, it's all good and well, you have access to money, but if you listen to the story, we had nothing. The money came after. What we had was the assets of human capital. We had people, we had skills, we had my cooking. We had a lot going on for us, guys. My cooking league, my credit card paying for people's petrol. And then we had a broadcaster that was willing to broadcast the show and pay us to license it to fund what is currently on YouTube. And the YouTube part now has its own life. There's a massive difference between television broadcast and YouTube. First off, television broadcast, if there's a problem, people are calling BCCSA. Ne? We are very fortunate nobody's called with the very risque content that we've had. On YouTube, people just comment to tell you that, you know, please don't talk like that. Why is this guest here? Why? It's hectic, the YouTube comments. But also, the great thing about YouTube is people now come into the comment section to say, I'm so glad you spoke about depression. I thought of taking my own life today. But after watching this, I'm no longer going to do it. Like, can you see the power of content? That the content is now becoming purposeful. Now, I know that the story that I'm sharing with you is not going to be what anybody can just replicate. Not everybody has cameramen that work for them, that they can ask for favors. Not everybody has sound people. Not everybody can cook. I mean, not everybody has space in their house to have a crew. And at the time, I was not a mother yet. I could afford to have a crew come into my house and shoot. And it just so happened that it was right at the beginning of hard lockdown when a lot of productions were on hold, so people were doing nothing. So it wasn't just about the resources, the human capital. It was also about the timing, and the timing was right. And it just so happened that SABC3 was about to rebrand, and their rebrand spoke exactly to the type of work that we're doing now, which is speaking to millennials about causes that matter to us. We're speaking about minority groups. We're speaking about the voiceless. We're giving platform to the voiceless. So that's how a TV show went online. And if I were to say to you, what advice would you give? I want to start something online. I'd say start now with what you have. Start with what you have. I was willing to do it. I was going to put my phone, you don't even need a tripod. Onka komiki. You put your phone against komiki. You pose and you start. Because you have to start somewhere. Mind you, my YouTube channel before the show was sitting on about 1,000 followers, which didn't bother me because I wasn't a YouTuber. Sometimes my team would upload some of the content we'd shoot, but it wasn't something I was invested in. We are quarter to hitting 100,000 followers, and that is in less than a year. I'm talking May 11th to November the 27th. That doesn't happen often. And it's cult following people. The time we had to take a production break of about 2 weeks, guys, people got sick. They were ill. People were ill because they got so addicted to the content. And that's the important thing. So for me, the other advice would be your content is king. Whether you shoot it with a pretty background, whether you've got makeup on or not, the quality of your content is what's going to work for you. Having said that, we on the channel are like, we would like to expand because I appreciate what other YouTube creators are doing. I see the day in the lives. I see the vlogs. I think about myself and I'm like, I'm a new mom. There's so many issues I would like to address as a new woke mom that I'd like to bring to the YouTube community. I would like to have the conversations about what do you do when your mom wants to do this for your child, but you don't want to do this for, like, come on, I need the black sisters to come out and be like, I feel you, sister. I had the same fight with my mother. And that's where I'm at the moment, is to say, we're not stopping just because we got a TV show to go online. We're now taking it to the next level. And while other content creators might be solely relying on what Google pays, which is very little, if I might say, it's nothing. Like, you're lucky if it just covers your production costs. We have to be smarter in what we do in terms of expanding our content, which is really what I'm trying to do. Just in terms of what I can say, the stats of the show. We are now 123 episodes in. We broadcast every single weekday. That is high production. Our team is massive. We have a post-production team of about 8 people. I have a content team of 6 people. I sit as the executive producer with my co-executive producer, Relebogile, who sold the show for us. Our team is massive, and I acknowledge that other content creators are working alone. Hence, you might only produce once a week. I have a massive team, but having a massive team also has its downsides. It's easy for mistakes to happen. It's easy for the wrong subtitle to go out. And why are subtitles important? Because our second highest viewers come from the USA. Something I would have never thought or considered is like, how kantele shebile mathata a rona ko America, you're watching us in humble South Africa. You know, so you start to think to yourself, wow, now you have to start thinking for an international audience. The reason that the Americans, the reasons that bako Botswana, the reason that there's somebody in Saudi Arabia or Israel or France is watching our show, because the stories are universal. The stories are universal. If somebody's coming to say, I never knew who my father was till my father died, that is a universal story, and I think that's something that we won with. So 123 episodes in, we are 3 seasons in, we've still got a while to go, and we've almost reached 10 million views in total. And our best performing video is sitting at about 860,000 views. And you won't believe what that show is about. The show is Raped by My Father. And what does that tell you about the audience? We like emotainment. We like raw, real stories. So to everybody, I hope you get to know your audience. I hope you are able to provide the kind of content they're looking for. And I hope that you're thinking bigger than just digital, because a show that was meant to just go to YouTube is now sitting on a national broadcaster funding what we're doing on YouTube. And that's how a TV show goes online. Thank you.